If you're here with us live in the chat box here on Zoom or in the Facebook comments, if you would take a moment, take a deep breath, and maybe that's what you're grateful for is breath. Like I woke up today, I can breathe, or my cozy, bed, or beautiful sunshine, or I'm grateful for this certain oil, right? I'm hearing about birch oil or seeing that in the comments. From the food in your cupboards, so to speak, to love in your life, all those things. But what are you grateful for today? Whether you feel it or not, I think is the beautiful discernment, is I don't always feel grateful. I don't even always feel positive and optimistic, but you can still be in the practice of gratitude, even if you're not necessarily feeling that, right? Andy, anything you want to add to that? Like how that principle shows up in your life?
Gosh, it's so true. It's like it's like a muscle, right? Gratitude is this muscle that if we're not taking it to the gym every day, it's going to atrophy and it's going to show up. It's just a matter of time before you're like, hang on, something's off in my life, and sometimes in small ways, but I've seen it show up in really, really big ways. So, thank you so much for the reminder, Tiff. Just gratitude really sets the tone for everything else. Every other experience, every other relationship, it's the baseline. So thank you for bringing us back to gratitude.
Yeah, well, you started it. I'll put that there with you.
Oh, it's so good. There is so much to be grateful for. And speaking of birch, I'm seeing lots of people like, hey, they promised us a birch in our convention kits. When do I get one? I don't know if this is public knowledge, but if you just come to enough Tiffany events, word on the street is birch just flies off the shelves as freebies. So
yeah, before you know, right? What you choose before you go. Yeah, Karen asked that too. Are you going to give away birch this time? We might.
Never know. You just never know.
It's in the stash. We'll see. What's your favorite way, everyone, to use birch? Those of you that are familiar with the birch oil, how do you prefer to use it? I like how it smells, but what do you prefer to use it for?
One of the uses that I hear about most often is bone health. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's so good for bones and joints. So that's probably one of my top uses.
Yeah.
But yeah,
sounds like some people are saying for some sore muscles or to help your muscular body relax. Okay. Hey, I mean, you just never know. You never know. It's like, and you get a car. And you get a car. We're going to give away 2 Ferraris.
Bridge for you.
I like
the doTERRA convention. It might as well be a car.
I mean, might as well. Yeah. Okay. Becky says she layers birch on top of deep blue. So that's awesome.
Love it.
Okay. We got some birch fans today.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Can I tell you what I'm also loving? I've come back to an OG diffusing blend of citrus bliss and a little geranium. And that has just always been such a love. And sometimes I'm adding also then a little added. I sometimes get a little bit, generous, shall we say, with variety of oils where it's like citrus bliss, geranium, and then sometimes a drop or 2 of peppermint, and let's add some bergamot and some wild orange, and let's citrus this thing really up in this space. So yeah, but just love using my diffuser, right? Like sometimes it's just like I've been using it so much lately, and how much just lightness it brings to your space.
So true, right? Oh, well, can I tell you one thing I'm grateful for?
Tell me.
We are sending the Essential Emotions book to press, and this is the 12th edition. It's got lots of great improvements and enhancements, and I am so grateful for computers to do design work on, because when I went to college in graphic design, they talk about a legendary time when people would do design on paper and everything was pens and knives and film and sheets of plastic. And I'm just like, how in the world? Like, that's how all design was done. Like, typography was set by hand. And I just cannot even imagine. So I am so grateful for our little computer friends.
I love that. It's so exciting. You have a new baby coming, basically, as
Yes,
you
a
just
new
said.
baby.
We have a new baby.
Yep. It's got all the new oils for convention. It's got, we kind of went through and we did an audit on a lot of the affirmations, a lot of the look deeper questions, and we really cleaned it up. Like, it's in top shape. So anyways, essentialemotions.com. We don't have the pre-order link up yet, but we'll definitely have those ready for convention. So
I love it. Essential Emotions and convention
Yep.
both coming real soon.
Yep. Two great things that go great together.
Amen to that.
Ah,
Okay, so tell me, do you want to lead out with a question or a share of maybe something that's showing up in some of your mentoring with your leaders, maybe a theme or something, an awareness that's been popping up in your own coaching rate lately? Or if there are questions y'all have, feel free to start popping those in the chat box or raising your hand. We'd love to support you and help you with whatever might be up for you.
yeah. Well, we had an exciting weekend. Amy Fulmer, as you know, is one of our new frontline leaders. Well, 3 years new.
Amy's a rock star.
She is a rock star, and her whole team is filled with rock stars. I see some of them on this call right now. So special shout out to you. And we had a gathering at our house just to celebrate, just to give some focus and love to all of the wins on her team. And we had a guest in town from Australia, and she kind of observed this gathering, and she just sat there in awe. She watched the dance party, she watched the recognition, and she's like, "Wow, this is really something special." I think she was commenting a little bit on how Australians tend to maybe sit back and hold back a little bit, and maybe they play too cool for school to really lean in. But it really helped educate my gratitude for the gift of celebrating. Like, it is such a gift when we really choose all in and say, you know what, there is so much worth celebrating, and I'm going to celebrate. So congratulations to Amy and all of her team. Several Founders 2.0. We are officially Founders 2.0 ourselves.
Yay! Okay, don't just try to slide that in. He's like, and by the way, it's like, you guys, this is exciting.
Yes, it was fun.
Yay!
Yep, got the email from doTERRA, 1,000 points. So it's really fun, and just grateful for a community where that's the vibe. That's what convention is going to be. It's going to be a big celebration. So many wins. Founders 2.0 wraps here in a couple days, and so many people have pushed so hard. Even if you didn't make it, think about the growth that you've experienced in the process. The journey gives gifts along the way, and that's the growth that is so worthy of celebrating. So thank you all so much for the love. Feeling it.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I love this.
We are so grateful. doTERRA is just the best company ever, and I can't think of a more worthy cause to be a part of.
I love this so much. This is so exciting. How have you celebrated, or how will you be celebrating? Because that's like going to be top of mind, is like, hey, how are we going to celebrate this and anchor this in?
Totally. So when it was looking like things were lining up, everything was shaping up and the stars were lining, we went out and we bought ourselves an e-foil. So are you familiar with e-foil?
An e-foil.
Okay, so I don't know. It's like a surfboard, but it has an electric motor on it. So basically you can go out and wake surf without a boat. So
In the
um,
water?
in the water, yep, any lake, could be big or
Okay.
small, could do it on the ocean. And what's cool is you get up, because the foil is so strong, you get up above the water. It doesn't matter how choppy the water is. You can have the smoothest ride. It feels like glass. It's really fun. So we kind of celebrated a little bit early, and the kids have been loving it. Sam has been taking it out almost every day,
Oh my
and
gosh.
it's really fun. So I know it's not the boat. Tiffany is a big fan of boats. We didn't spring for the boat, but we did do the mini boat, the one-man boat.
Yeah, there you go. Brenda, I'm so excited for you. I think you also could use an ice cream machine.
I think it might be time,
I mean, it might be time to splurge for that business.
Yeah.
I mean, I have one from Walmart that fits in a box. It's like a kid version, which I'm grateful for. But I mean, I think we might be ready for like a ice cream machine in the house.
Okay.
What does everyone think? I think it's a yes.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, I think you've arrived. I think you're ready for it.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, let's jump into some coaching. I'm seeing some questions roll in. Some people hopped on the Eric Warre call. Was that yesterday or Monday? But he is doing a oh shoot, I really don't have a whole lot of details, but he's partnering with Kirsten Kirschbaum, and
Okay.
and they're doing some kind of a challenge. They're doing a kickoff call on Saturday. So all I know is it's going to cost $7 to participate in this challenge. There will be upsells. I know Eric, that's just the way he rolls.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if he speaks your language, then I say jump in. And yeah, Shelly is saying that she got on the call and she's on fire. I know Laura Jacobs has a frontline leader who also got on, and she got super excited and she's on fire. So yeah, definitely. If Eric's your jam, then jump on that bandwagon. I didn't, because we're getting this book to press, I didn't jump on the call. But thank you, Tim, for posting that link and posting it to everyone. So I'll go ahead and post that on Facebook too, in case you're in case you're on Facebook. So thank you for that question. That's about all I know on the Eric call. Somebody also asked, most people know about essential oils now, which is different from when doTERRA first started. How do you invite people to try to learn about doTERRA now that it's different from when you first started, without making it a mine is better than yours battle? I love that question, Kim. And I'll just share a couple thoughts, and then Tiff, if you want to chime in. So I love the fact that you already are self-aware about, blue ocean versus red ocean strategy, right? So in a red ocean strategy, it's, my oils are better than so-and-so's because of this, that, and the other, right? And that's a red ocean. That's the comparison game. And it's like, nobody wins in the red ocean game. But the blue ocean strategy is, where can I position myself, my product and offering in a way that there is no competition? And that is what Tiffany speaks to every single week. It's about service. It's about connection on a deep, deep level. It's about caring in such a way that they'll never have an experience like that. And so it puts you in a league of your own, so that you don't have to worry about, are they going to buy their oils down at 7-Eleven or where, everyone's selling oils nowadays. They have them at Costco, obviously all over online. So really the way to differentiate is by caring more than anyone else, and proving that care through your questions, through your follow-up, through your diligence and pushing through to find solutions. Because sometimes it might take 2 or 3 different samples or product experience before you find the solution that solves the problem. So those are a couple of my quick thoughts, but Tiff, I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah. I mean, I think competition, so to speak, competition, and I say that lightly is like, it's never a bad thing, right? If people are one of the gifts, I actually get this, Andy, last night in the Costco parking lot, Brett and I ran into Jared Winger and had a fun, rich conversation and catch up with him and his experience in doTERRA and all that that has been and fun. So, but we were talking about this is like one of the gifts, right, of starting and being part of doTERRA now is that essential oils are a more mass adopted concept, or at least awareness, right? Like when the trade-off, right? Oh, these are being sold in Costco or Best Buy or Target right now, essential oils, and they're not necessarily high quality, but that tells you that the masses are now aware of them. Where when the Goddards still started building doTERRA, you were still kind of weird and in the bushes and on the fringe of like, you guys are hippies because what are these essential oils, right? And you think of that. So one of the gifts is when you started early is you were part of the new revolution of education and awareness. So the trade-off is there's a lot more where people might be even more receptive today because there are so many essential oils that are out there. Yes, that also has a trade-off, right? It's saturated or you have a lot more of that. But I think I don't think for most people who are buying essential oils, not all of them, but if the person has the mindset to buy an oil and has a belief it can improve their life, they probably also, the majority, not all, are going to also be in the same lane that care about quality. They're going to care about sourcing. They're going to care about, what's actually in the oil. Is it a pure therapeutic grade? And I think without being defensive, you can communicate whatever you want typically to a human. The biggie is where your energy goes with it.
Mhm.
It isn't the words that are the issue. It's when our energy gets defensive. And one of my mentors, I think it might even be Byron Katie too, who talks to this, is that defensiveness is the first line of war or the first line of battle. Is when we have an energy of defensiveness or like, hey, I've got to prove this to you, or you're wrong, I'm right. The energy behind your words is what I would clean up regularly or keep in track. Does that make sense, you guys? Like you can communicate, but if you said to me, if I was using essential oils, say from Target, and you're representing doTERRA, even if you just love it, it's like, oh, I love that you're aware of these. And yeah, I've been using them myself. I'm just curious. Have you researched the ingredients there? Do they test it at a certified therapeutic grade? I know for me, if I'm going to put oils on my skin or in my body or have them in my home, I really care about quality of ingredients. So I think it's one of those things that you absolutely can share it. And to your point, Kim, is like being out of the energy of like, my bottle's better than your bottle. Yeah, we want to be out of that energy, but we can also just keep holding the torch up that says, hey, be mindful about where your oils are sourced from. And do they test, again, are they therapeutic grade? That's the same question of like, if we're eating organic, raised, well-loved, say beef versus mass-produced hormone injected, meats. That kind of stuff would matter to me. I'm not saying it matters to everyone, but the type of person who's going to yoga, doing green juicing, buying essential oils, caring about what goes in their body, in their home, their cleaning products, those are for most, not all, again, it's not a blanket, are going to care about the quality of product. Because again, it's like, yeah, I'm putting that on my skin, I'm putting that on in my body, or it's in my space. And so I love that you asked this question. But again, the biggest thing is making sure our own energy is like, hey, right? And if people feel like, oh, that's so awesome that you're connected to oils. I'm curious, how did you get aware of them? Or when did you start using them? And they've been on my radar for a while too. I got connected. What's your story? Tell me about that. Oh, I'm just curious if you researched the ingredients and do they test the oils you're using at a certified therapeutic grade? And it's conversational versus, hey, I've really got to drive this quote point home and this kind of thing and sharing it. And even if then, of course, you have your oils on you, it's like, do you want to try them? Do you want to sample them? And it's just coming from this energy of like, hey, I want to help you. I love you're here, but let's help you up level here if they want to go there, and you can help them get there through, again, those questions. But we maintain a clean energy about it.
So good.
It's like when people ask me about, well, what separates you from, your coaching and your sales training from this group or this thing or that thing. And I think there's some other phenomenal coaches out there. Of course, I've worked with several other coaches and groups, and I don't think I'm the only one who can teach valuable content in these topics. Of course not. But it's the same thing if they're like, hey, what about this versus that? It's like, hey, I love that you're working on yourself. I love that you're growing. I love that you're, in personal development and wanting to improve yourself and your business skills. And, I genuinely mean that. And I can share with you, and here's a few things that I uniquely teach, or the way that I like to layer concepts or help people progress. And I would also, similar for myself, come back to questions. What are you looking for? And what's the skill and what's the outcome you want from the coaching experience? And helping them get more clear whether they, book with me or not. It's the same thing.
So true. Yep, love that. Well, if anybody wants to come on live, go ahead and raise your hand, and we could do some live questions too. It's always fun to chat in person. Yeah, and thank you for the comments here. Julie, great comment. It sounds like Casey did get on the Eric call. And yeah, one thing that, because Eric is a consultant primarily to the network marketing industry, he's seen it all, right? He's seen the countless opportunities and the juices and the supplements that are kind of a dime a dozen. And he will tell you all day, every day, doTERRA is different. This is a legacy company that is going to be here for generations because of the foundation of product, integrity, leadership. So yeah, he's a big advocate. He's coached lots of doTERRA leaders. I know he's worked closely with Haley Hobson and the Kirschbaums. So he knows that what we've got is something special. So we got a lot to be grateful for. So go ahead and raise your hand if you're on Zoom, and we can bring on any of your live questions or blocks or goals that you're working through. So here's one that Natalie and I were coaching a team member on the other day. They were really frustrated that they did not achieve Founders 2.0. I mean, it's not over yet, right? We still have a week, but they're a long ways off. And so, Tiffany, what would be your coaching on someone who, there was a set time period, that time period is coming to a close, and they didn't hit the goal they were reaching for?
This is such a good question. Can we look at it from a few different angles? Right? Because I think that's life. One is that okay, here we go. There's like 5 different layers to this. The first one is I love you guys, and for myself, I love you having goals. And I love you having clarity and specificness. And even if you want to put timeframes on them, right? Like, I want it to happen in this time frame. And sometimes there are very specific awards or titles, roles, or, levels or things that are under a time frame, right? Like this Founders 2.0, like this has to happen in this time frame. But I remember years ago, when I worked for Robert Kiyosaki, some of you have heard of his books and his work called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and his book Cash Flow Game. I worked for his brand back in like 2000 6, 7, 8, 9, when that was a thing. I'm just curious, have any of you read any of his books? Like, are you familiar with who I'm talking about? But he, in his thought leadership, but I remember a meeting I was in with him, small corporate meeting, me and my sales team. There's like me and my 12 sales reps that were representing his account, his brand. And he brought us this conversation, Andy, where he said, and he'd just come back from like sharing a stage somewhere in the South with an archbishop. And quoting this archbishop, he said, the process is more important than the goal.
Hmm.
And he was talking about, he said this, he said, along the journey, as you're working on these goals and your progression and what you're after, he said this, and again, keep in mind, we're in a corporate setting. He said, God will give you glimpses of your greater glory so you can endure the pain of the process. But he said, the process is more important than the goal. It's who you become in the process that matters the most. And that you'll be given these glimpses, these moments to see your greater possibility, potential, your greater glory in the path. And then he asked this question that was on my refrigerator for 8 months following that meeting, because it had such an impact. It was one of these, like, we call them mic drops, right? Like, boom. 8 months that was taped up to my refrigerator so I could see it every single day. And the question was, and he said, so the $1 million question is, y'all, and then he repeated himself to make sure we got it. Like, literally, your $1 million question is, can I be faithful to the process? And so it's more about who am I being and becoming, and am I leaving it all on the field? And if that person was here live or listening to this recording, or the conversation I would have is, I would still, the way that I'm going to show up is like, I'm going to get up, I'm going to make the calls, I'm going to share the the samples, I'm going to do the things, whether I quote achieve that or not, because that's the real opportunity. It's like, who am I becoming in the process? Am I still moving in that direction? And the real intention, right? Founders 2.0 is a very cool title, and it comes with some great benefits. And I promise you, if you stay in the purpose of, I want to bless more lives, I want to help more people be healthier and happier, that is such a pure intention. And all of you can choose back into that pure intention right now, which is, I want to help more people be healthier and happier. And I want to, help them do that with these tools and these products. So I say that because I think that there are plenty of times we set goals that we don't achieve, or we don't achieve them in the time frame. Maybe another lesson comes in. We trust the process. I just posted this morning on my Instagram stories about, we trust that, quote, rejection, or if we don't achieve a goal, there's great reason and or redirection a part of that. And so it's like, who am I being and becoming, and what's the why that I want that? Right? Like, I could say, hey, when I publish a book, I want to be a New York Times bestselling author. I want that amazing level, right? The unicorn level in the publishing world is a New York Times bestseller, right? But I may or may not. But when I stay anchored in the purpose, which is, I want this work to get into the hands that need it, that need the light, that need the love, that need the breakthroughs. That to me is what I'm going to get up for every single day. The title is cool. The award is cool. It's like my podcast. When we launched my show coming up 4 years ago, which will be back on August 31st. When I launched that cute little show and put that out there, in the first 24 hours, my show hit what's called new and noteworthy and best shows on Apple for that week. And that was that's like a New York Times level credential, right? In terms of in the podcasting world. And I don't tell you that to brag, because someone else in my network let me know that. I wasn't sitting there watching to see if it was happening, said, oh my gosh, girl, this is already here. And look how cool. And I was like, really? Like, wow, okay. But the show that I've continued to do is like, I want to bring thoughtful conversation. I want to help more people have transformation. It's okay though, on the flip side, so I say all of that is come back to purpose. Why were you working towards Founders 2.0? Yes, there's some great benefits, but when you come home to your true purpose, and then you're like, I'm willing to leave it on the field. I'm going to be faithful to the process. I'm going to get up and make X calls every day, host X things every day or week or month. I'm going to be sampling. I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be educating. I'm going to be like this wellspring of vitality and energy. And I come home to that purpose. That is so powerful. Now, on the flip side, loves, it's also okay to like be discouraged or disappointed. It's okay to be like, this didn't happen. And I really wanted it to happen. The relationship, the business, the title, right? The outcome, the contract, the whatever. It's okay to feel discouraged when sometimes the thing we wanted, the preference we had, the real desire, the dream, the preference, whatnot, is like, it didn't go our way or in our time frame. It's okay to feel that. Just don't build a house there. Don't build a house in that zip code, right? Some of you have heard me say this before. It comes from the best life coach on the planet, which is my mom. And she would say, Tiff, you know, if you're going through hell, don't stop and build a house there. It's okay to visit the zip code of discouragement. We all do. I do, you do. But don't put in custom drapes. Don't put in a pool in that zip code. It's like, I'm discouraged. Okay, what do I need? What do you need, sweetheart? And get out those oils in your essential emotions book, and or maybe go get some Ben and Jerry's and Netflix the rest of the day. You know, I mean, self-care comes in lots of ways. It just matters that we go, okay, I'm back to purpose. And you have a bigger purpose on your life, no matter what your rank or title is. And that is, I'm here to serve. I'm here to grow. I'm here to help others do the same. And it's so beautiful and fun to work towards those things. And it's okay if and when they don't happen, but then we go, okay, I can feel that, because I don't need to stuff those feelings or ignore them or just like put positive, you know, all over it. It's like, oh, that hurt. This stings. I'm sad about this. And then we come home to, okay, this is what I'm going to work on or be mindful of or focused on. Yeah, I think that. I remember years ago, I was coaching a woman in doTERRA who was diamond and wanted to go blue. And part of some of the work we were doing, she set a very specific date to go blue diamond. And it didn't happen by that date. And she was doing a lot of the work, she was in the process, she was doing the nourishing, the pipes, and she was in it. And so when the date approached and it hadn't happened yet was a key word, I gave her full permission. I said, okay, you know what? Let's have a full pity party. I want you to go to the party store and I want you to get a party hat and a kazoo. And I want you to get your favorite treats. And I want you just to be like, I'm really bugged about this. Celebrate it. And she just, even in our coaching session, started to giggle and laugh. And it kind of like lifted some of the energy as we acknowledged she was discouraged, right? And we acknowledged it. And then we also said, can you be faithful to the process? Can you chop the wood, carry the water? Can you be still showing up for other people with knowing what these gifts are? And she was like, yes, absolutely. And the things she got to learn and whatnot, and that did come to fruition to her. Blue Diamond came in the next 3 or 4 months. And so even though it wasn't, quote, on the time frame she wanted, and she was willing, she stayed faithful to the process, and it did arrive. Is some of our dreams come late, but they're right on time. Some come really fast. Some manifestations happen really fast. Some take more time. Some don't show up in the form that we wanted them in. And we have to, again, like be human and feel the feelings. And some of those are deep things. And so I'm so glad you brought this share from this person, because as humans, we can all relate to that. But it really, again, that meeting I had many moons ago with Robert Kiyosaki when I was running his coaching sales team was, yes, the reality of, who you become. The process is more important than the goal, because it's who you become in the process that matters the most. Those are things that can't ever be taken from you. Circumstances can change, economies can change, things can change, right? As we know, but like the personal growth, and it's like, oh, who I'm becoming. And then that, again, $1 million question, literally was how he phrased it, was, can I be faithful to the process? Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. And what, Casey's saying something that really matters in terms of, because what I've just shared, you go, oh, yes. Okay. And then one of those quote practical takeaways is what I love is called having effort-based goals. And effort-based goal setting is that you can have the desires in your visioning or vision board, right? I want to be diamond, blue diamond presidential founders. I want this home, I want this relationship, I want these vacations, whatever those things are. But then you have effort-based goals. Like, how many people do you contact every day? Do you all know that? Or maybe on a weekly basis? Do you have even a goal? Because a lot of times people don't even have a goal. They don't even have a temperature, a benchmark. It's just like, well, we'll just see what happens versus no, measure your goals by effort. Is I contact 5 people a day, 25 people a week, or whatever your number is, right? I host 1 class a month, or I'm sampling X, or I'm doing these things, or producing 4 pieces of rich content for social every week, or whatever it might be. Is, I move my body every day, right? You might have a number on a scale that you're after, or a dress size. It's okay to have those outcomes that you're after, but I would heavily focus on your efforts. I drink X amount of water a day, X amount of protein, right? I'm tracking my protein right now with a health coach for myself. It's like protein grams, and you're like, okay, I'm tracking this and I'm moving my body every day and I'm doing 3 or 4 workouts a week and I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, versus as focused on, am I this number on the scale? Or am I this rank? It's like, what's your effort? Do you have effort-based benchmarks for yourself? And if you don't, then I'm going to highly encourage you, today's the day to set them. And then one of my goal setting strategies is to have what I call it's a gentleman named Raymond Aaron, his formula called the MTO formula. And that stands for minimum, target, and outrageous. Is like minimum, target, outrageous for daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly goals, all the things of what you're working on. So anyway, I know I've been sharing a whole lot, but Andy, anything you want to add in or weigh to that? But it's okay to like feel those feels of discouragement. You don't build a house there, but you come back to is like, okay, this is my real why I was working towards founders. I want to help more people be healthier and happier. And I'm willing to get in the trenches every day for that cause.
Yep. 100%. And I, just like you said, Tiff, I would much rather have you have a goal and being in motion, moving towards that goal, than to never have had a goal at all. Right? Like anybody who's willing to show up, get out in the arena, and even if they end up face down, they keep getting up and moving their feet. So much more respect for that person than someone who, counted themselves out before the battle started and just said, oh, it's not for me. Success is not for me. Founders 2.0 is not my jam. Like, no matter what the goal is, it could be the goal of reaching a certain volume. Maybe you've got a volume goal in overall unit level volume. That's a fantastic goal too. In fact, Seth often teaches that that's the dirty little secret that nobody talks about in doTERRA. The biggest paycheck opportunity comes from unit level, not from rank, not from Founders 2.0, not from all these leadership things that we always talk about. It comes from unit level. And that's a great way to measure effort. Well, I guess it's more of an outcome, but it turns out to be a more useful metric than rank a lot of times, because it creates a sustainable outcome. So thank you, Tiff, for everything you shared. It's yes, it's always tough when you don't hit a goal, and that's part of life. That's part of creation. It's part of success is all the little, didn't quite make it. Seth tells his story about he had this goal of blue diamond and he thought he'd hit it like in 6 months, and it took him like 3 years. And so he's like, I can tell you about the 8 times I failed at my goal of blue diamond, because he had dates 8 different times, and it doesn't make him a failure. Like, it's just, it's part of the process. So thank you for everything you shared.
So good. And I think this is just, I appreciate the space and where this is evolving for all of us, because whatever area of our life we needed to be reminded of that. It's like, oh, come get filled up. And it's like, oh, for my business, for my relationships, my parenting, to, to my health and habits and things like that. It's just like, that's right. Like the process, I'm in the process and I'm willing. What are those things? And reminding ourselves of that purpose, being in it. And then also, like, what are the benchmarks I'm working on? But yes, yesterday I was on my walk. Yesterday I was listening to the book, Happy Pocket Full of Money. I know we've touched on that a few times. It's come up a few times this year. I'm listening to it a second time right now through, and he was talking about how with every loss, there is a gain. It's the same side of the same, it's a different side of the same coin, is that, there's always, Joel Osteen would say it this way: with every blessing, there's a burden. And with every burden, there's a blessing. Same side or different side of the same coin. It's just realizing, and it's like what was being talked about with Happy Pocket Full of Money yesterday is how we, quote, see failure really matters more than the actual circumstances. Where's our mindset about it, right? And what we're making it mean, and realizing, well, okay, what am I learning from this? Like, Seth has so much rich wisdom of how to grow a business. And a lot of that wisdom came from, quote, 8 failures. I don't really see him as failures but he could say, I set this goal, it didn't happen in this time frame. That's a failure. It's like, well, I'm learning. But to your point, y'all, you want to have goals and benchmarks that are rising you up, because it's like, oh, let's say your best year in doTERRA you've ever done is, let's say, 50,000 in income a year. And let's say you're setting a goal for $100,000 in income in doTERRA. And let's say this next year, and you work at that, you get after that. Let's say you hit $94,563. And even though you might be, quote, $6,000-ish short of that $100,000 goal, like, you went from 50,000 to almost doubling your revenue. But a lot of times, I would say, where one of the things that's plaguing the human experience right now is a lot of people don't have goals. They're just hanging out. They're just going with the flow. We'll just go with the flow. That's always downstream, friends, right? Like, we'll just see where it goes. And it's just kind of this, like, right? Now, I'm not saying I love being in the flow and like good things. That's not the point. But it's just like, a lot of times people don't have goals. They don't have benchmarks. They're just bright, shiny object. And what's the loudest, busiest, noisiest thing that the mass media is putting out today? Or what's the most funny video trending today? And I love funny videos, but it's just like, there's a lot of stuff where we're just kind of like, okay, well, we'll just see how it goes, versus like intentionally nourishing your relationship, your marriage, your health, your business is like getting intentional. I remember, you've heard me share this before too. And it's John Maxwell. He was in Utah a few years back, and he shared this thought at his event that I attended, where he said, aging is automatic. And I was like, yeah, trust me, I know, right? Like, I don't have to work at aging. It's like, how much collagen, how much metapower do I have to have every day? I mean, do we need to put it in intravenously? Like, how much collagen do we have to slow down the aging? How much this and that? But he said that statement, aging is automatic. It's already, you guys, almost September 1st of 2023. Can you even believe it? It's like, what? But I love what he went on to say. He said, aging is automatic. Growth must be intentional. And it's true. Like, weeds in my garden are automatic. I don't have to work at the weeds. They just pop up. But growing the vegetables, growing and seeing what you want to have happen, whether it's in your garden, your business, your health, your marriage, whatnot. It's like requires intention. So anyway, I think we've really hit this one, but I just feel like it's such a rich topic to whatever way you needed to hear it today, or how, if that's, hopefully that's having some resonance with you.
Okay, Tiff, there's another question that came through.
Okay.
Has anyone made it who has ADHD? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the answer is obviously yes. And I'm smiling a little bit because I'm like, because yeah, hello.
Has anyone made it who didn't have ADHD?
Right. To what degree of that? And not making light of that as
Sure.
an official diagnosis, but I think that many people that I'm connected to and you're connected to, it's like, wow, those are some legit struggles. Let
Yeah.
alone even if you don't have that official diagnosis, we live in the world of today is the world of distraction. It's
Yep.
constant, right? I mean, we're walking around with these mini computers called a smartphone and being buzzed and dinged and look here and look there. And then if you're raising kids, and then each of those children have their own emotional states and their various talents and struggles, and helping them launch while you're also doing a business, while you're also like, hey, how about some self-care or my spiritual life and my spiritual callings? It's like all the various things that you're getting to face. It's like so much. And that's, again, when we're really clearly focused. But did anyone want to add to that? If anyone else here, if like ADHD is a real specific challenge for you, how do you help manage or navigate that as you're growing your business?
I know that it's a constant battle for me, for Natalie. Like we have so many things competing for focus, for energy. And yeah, I mean, it is a nonstop struggle. So, but to be honest, like I think through the top leaders I know in doTERRA and outside of doTERRA, and ADHD is probably the thing they most have in common, like some degree of struggle with attention and focus. So I love the idea too of playing to your strengths. So my top strength is activator when it comes to the Gallup Strengths Finder strengths. So an activator needs about this much of an idea, and they're like, okay, let's go. Let's take action. So I can't tell you how many brainstorming meetings we've been in. And before the meeting's over, I've bought a domain name and set up a hosting account for it because I'm like, hey, let's go. Let's do this. Which is fine. And my follow through is not where my quick start is. So it takes a team. Like Natalie is the greatest gift to me because she is so good at finishing projects. I'm good at starting them. She's great at finishing them. And she also has strategy as her number one strength. And so if I can slow down my urge to just get into action and strategize with her, we can go so much further and create so much more good. So building a team, leveraging other people's strengths, I think is such a key when it comes to focus and attention. Yeah, like you said, Karen, like getting bored. And I get bored with a project about 5 minutes in. So
oh my gosh, totally. Like, and to what Andy just said, it's true, is like building a team around you that they have different strengths. And if you're in the season of, well, I'm bootstrapping and that team is all me, one of the strategies that helps support me is I live by in time management, a process called time blocking, where it literally will like get blocked in your calendar as when does this need to happen? When does this need to happen? Like Shelly was saying, I legit write everything down, where it's like, I mean, my own planner's out right here, right? Because as we were talking about something in an aha, where I'm like, ooh, I need to put that into a post. I got it out to write it down because even though it was like, ooh, it's big, I know I'm going to move on and my brain may not remember it. but I regularly get into time blocks into my calendaring where it's like, I'm working on content for this block, or I'm working on follow-up calls in this block. Right. And some of that helps me like focus rather than like, oh, I'm kind of like I'm texting some people to follow up while I'm, checking the Instagram, but I'm also like got dinner on the stove and I'm trying to do all these things sometimes versus, hey, laser focus. I'm not checking my email right now. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And what a difference that can make. So, and the planner I use, Mary says, is the Passion Planner. And I'm a big fan of it. And I'm also a big fan, a system Andy and Natalie introduced me to years ago. I used to do a hybrid where they introduced me to the Levenger system. I don't know if you still use that, Andy, but
Totally.
Levenger system, I would then print off Passion Planner week at a glance, right? Because even though if it all goes in my digital calendar, I still need to see like, oh, okay, I'm here, I'm out of town this weekend, doing these things. And I ended up just buying, what I like Levenger is you can move sheets around, right? Versus this is a bound book, but I do a lot of my creative planning and goals and, some of my own creation stuff. They have lots of beautiful pages in the back where like, okay, I'm mapping out some of my own projects or plans, courses, things like that. So I do use Passion Planner, and I do have a discount code if I don't have it on me in the moment, but if you want to DM me on Instagram or Facebook Messenger me, I can get you a code if you want to order a Passion Planner or order one for 2024. They start really bringing out pretty soon. They'll be bringing out their 2024 planners.
Love it.
Yeah, I love to. Shelly says that her girlfriend says she color codes everything and it's helped her tremendously. I do some of that too, where I'm like, this is personal, this is business, and business has a few different color codes. Like I'm in coach mode or fulfillment mode. This is marketing or creation mode, different projects. So Andy, do you want to share the name of the quiz that talks about your strengths? Because it's a goodie.
Yep. It's called Strengths Finder, and it's created by Gallup. Most of you have heard the company of Gallup. They're the largest repository of data on the planet. They have done more surveys. They've done more, work with companies and people than any other company on the planet. So they've been tracking it for longer. So it's really, in my opinion, it's the most solid system to work with in terms of understanding your gifts, what's great about you, and how to bring those strengths to bear in the world. So just Google Gallup Strengths Finder, and there's a book. With the book comes a code to take the test, or you can just pay, I think it's $20 to take the test. I think it's more if you want to get all 35 strengths, but working with your top 10 is really a good, powerful start.
It's so good. I've done it too. I really like it as awareness, right? Where it's like, oh, wow. And just knowing again, more awareness to how you're showing up. I also, for me personally, really, have any of you done human design? Andy, have you done your human design blueprint?
Totally. Just did it about 6 months ago. It was really fascinating.
What's your profile type?
Oh, boy. I went deep on it as soon as we did it, and then I instantly forgot it. So
okay.
I would have to
I know it's on the spot, but that was really insightful for me too. And just, I don't fully think that one of these things like fully captures who you are because you're a child of God, right? And different circumstances bring out different things. But like Strengths Finders, very insightful. Human design for me, very insightful, where I was like, oh my gosh, I finally feel permission, because my profile type is like, a lot of it is giving you permission to what lights you up now, right? Like what lights you up now and being true to that versus, and permission to change your mind. And I was like, oh yes. Some might say, hey, well, that's because you're a female, right? When it's like permission to change your mind, but no, truly on like projects and things and honoring where you feel lit up by, right? So anyway, just some great tools too that can support you with awarenesses But loves, I think sometimes making it just bringing it back real clear to the simple basics is every one of you are in the people business. Every one of you, whether you do doTERRA, whether you're sell real estate, whether you're in hair and beauty, is you're all in the people business. And the basics of business is connection. And whether you connect on social, you connect in person, right? You call, you text, you send email, you send flyers, all the various ways. It's always been the way that we grow, we connect and build community, how you make sales, so to speak, too. It's like, okay. And so I would have really clear goals for yourself of like a basic goal. How many people do you connect with, reach out to, and nourish on a daily basis? And if you want to say weekly basis, that works too. If you have a larger goal, it might be like if you say, I want to connect with 20 people a week, great. You might do 5 here, 10 here, 5 here, another 5 here, right? Like however you're choosing to do that. Or if you're saying I connect with, or I nourish 2 people every day, but I would have a clear, specific guideline and benchmark for yourself that you're helping. And again, the point is you're nourishing them to help them, right, progress and be healthier and happier, and asking good questions and nourishing them. And then at times we share the products. Of course, we ask more questions, or would you be interested in, or can I send you, what's up for you? And would you like to sample something to support that, or whatever, all the ways that you're nourishing. I just think like sometimes we make it really complicated, and it's like, oh, I'm going to show up and nourish people every day.
A to the man.
A to the man.
We've been well fed here today. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for your time. Thank you all for bringing your questions and your comments. Such a rich community. And obviously, convention is just a couple weeks away. So go to sharesuccess.com/convention to get registered for all of the events around convention. Tiffany's got her event at myoilscoach.com. So we all want to see you and party and connect. So look forward to seeing you in a few weeks, and we'll see you on this call next week.
Bye, everyone.